Learn everything you need to know about the U.S. agricultural system, growing your own food, and being an urban farmer. Watch the full interview with Michaih Hall now at ineverknewtv.com premium. Please explain what farmer subsidies are for those unaware.
Yeah, so a farmer subsidy might be that the government creates, you have a government mandated seed company that is selling seeds. And let's say, a lot of farmers monocrop. The biggest farms in America monocrop. When I say monocrop, they only grow one thing.
That's not good for the soil.
It's not good for anything. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for the soil. It might be good for the farmer's wallet, right? And so they monocrop. And in doing that, I'm talking about a big farm. I'm talking about 2,000 acres of corn. And the government says for that 2,000 acres of corn, if you use these seeds, we'll give you $1,000 for every acre.
I was recently with a guest, right? And he was speaking about how this is the heights of distraction. And earlier you spoke about us being distracted, and so many food policies have been passed that are not beneficial to us. Can you speak about that, please?
Yeah, man. A lot of these policies have to do with who's in office. And so things that might be, let's say, a stipulation one year, you might say, oh, for you to be considered organic, you can't use this chemical here, all right, because of X, Y, Z. The next year, they say, okay, you could still be organic, can't use nothing. And that chemical that we said you can't use before, you could use that now and still be considered organic. And you'll find that company, that chemical company, then paid big money to make that policy happen. And now they're going to make a lot of money off of that policy change. And so that's the game that be being played, you know what I'm saying, with a lot of regulations that's supposed to happen in agriculture. It's not so much regulations as politics. And what should be the biggest concern, which is the consumer safety, isn't at the height of the discussion. You gotta follow the paper trail. It all comes down to dollars and cents all the time. You know what I mean? And so, when you have places like Monsanto's, who was bought out by Bayer, they create patents on seeds, and they tell farmers, like I said, then that seed will go into a contract with the government, and now that's a government mandated seed, and the farmer now gets subsidy for using that seed.
You're penalized for not using that seed.
You're penalized for not using it because
you have access to the subsidies.
Because they made the agriculture game so tight. It's very labor intensive. There's a high overhead in agriculture. Because of that high overhead, it's very hard to make a profit in agriculture. I've been able to be profitable because of my creativity. I have a lot of different streams of income that I've created off of my farm. My ingenuity is what. But if I was just a farmer, I'd be dying out here. I'd be out of business already. Because the way that, like I said, the game is rigged, it's so tight. Like, you gotta look at this. You gotta really get out there and try and grow some food. And then you gotta look and see how much time, energy, and effort it took to grow 100 pounds of eggplant. From watering them things every day, planting it from seed, the greenhouse, the people you pay to harvest it, package it, all that, 100 pounds of eggplant. And then you see how much you're going to get paid for that 100 pounds of eggplant. It don't make no sense. It don't add up. So you're going to go under.
You need the subsidy.
The only way you're going to make profit most of the time in the agro industry is by getting that subsidy.
It seems like you really need to use the fertilizer and the pesticide because you can't afford for these crops to not reach.
Yeah, for a lot of farmers, they're under that pressure that they have to produce.
Sounds like doctors, they only see you for 15 minutes, then off to the next person.
Right. You know what I mean? And because of that pressure, they got to do what they have to do to try to survive. And so, like I said, I understand why they do what they do. A lot of them are changing the way that they move now because they understand the long-term effects. So some of this stuff is like irreversible.